Hi guys, I'm John Biggs with TechCrunch. I'm very lucky to be here with William Gibson, the author of The Peripheral. This is your latest book, but everyone's going to know you from the Sprawl series, Neuromancer, Virtual Light, and the Spook Country, and a number of modern books. So you foresaw a world in which would be almost always connected. Obviously, the characters there carried around something completely different than we carry around now.
Yeah.
But you saw a world in which computers were interconnected in a way that wasn't abundantly clear how that would work back in the 80s. How did you get the ideas for that, and where was that coming from? What was the soup out of which that idea crawled?
Well, for some reason which now baffles me, I decided that trying to become a science fiction writer would be a career move. Well, it worked out.
I think you pulled it off.
It worked out, but I knew I needed an arena. I needed like an equivalent of outer space, and I needed an equivalent of a spaceship or space travel. And I had friends who worked for, I forget if it was either Microsoft in its very earliest kind of lungfish stages, or kind of the world that were part of the business world that would become Microsoft. And they were remotely in some crazy hobbyist ham radio way using like things called home computers, but they weren't even that common then. I think the only home computer I had seen when I started Neuromancer was one of those Sinclair things that looked like a cable box with a stick-on keyboard on top.
I imagined as a kid that you had seen like an Atari 800 XL. I was running around with that in like an old army bag, pretending I was Case.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty much the level that I was working from. I saw an Apple IIc bus station ad with this executive wrist with a big French cuff and the idea of a suitcase-sized personal computer, and seeing kids, the intensity and total immersion with which kids played even early, like very primitive video games. And I saw how behind the screen, as it were, of each of these little briefcase computers, there could be a single space. And I think that was the closest I ever came to a pure eureka moment for the cyberspace idea.
And behind the glass, there was a world that was complete, and you were only looking through at part of it.
Yeah, and that it was shared and post-geographical. That it was shared, and you could be in New York and London or wherever with the same world behind the screen, and everyone could manipulate it.
So you basically invented the internet.
It's more complicated than that, because I envisioned that, I know on my own, but simultaneously, I knew people who were using the very early iterations of the internet to communicate with other people.
So this book has a lot of 3D printing, a lot of the stuff that's happening right now. Where did you get the inspiration for that? And all right, so presumably you're reading essentially everything on the internet at this point.
I'm not reading everything on the internet. I'm standing in the ceaseless fire hose flood of the stuff, absorbing absorbing what I can osmotically. But because I'm a fiction writer, I don't even have to worry about whether they're telling me the truth.
Okay.
It just makes if it makes a good story, I'll go with it. And if it's scientifically inaccurate, I'll hear about it.
Right.
So I'll know better next time.
So for the 3D printing portions, you didn't go out and buy a 3D printer and like print your own bridges and things or whatever?
No, and that helps in a way. That's always helped me, because I'm always, when I see the real thing after having read the tech journalism version of it, what I noticed when in the early days of making up the word cyberspace and making up a few things that it could be. What I noticed was that the people who were actually involved hands-on with the real internet technology were the people who totally didn't get what I was doing. It seemed like they could only see what they were focused on what they were actually doing. And I was focused on what they were saying about it and the language they used. And I was sort of poetically deconstructing their technical language. This one is standalone, and that's because given that it has a certain multiverse aspect to it, like multiverse plus multi-volume is just a bad recipe.
All right.
It seldom goes well.
All right, fascinating. I just got the rare privilege of sitting with William Gibson, author of The Peripheral. The book is available now. You can get it at bookstores, and I believe you can also get it on the computer. I'm John Biggs with TechCrunch. Thanks for watching.